What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 67 of Lobbing Scorchers. This is Ari Lillianwall. Got producer Noah here with me. Noah, we're laying down a dub pod today. How are you feeling?
It's early in the morning. It's sunny outside. It's that nice, brisk, cool fall air, Ari. I'm getting into the playoff spirit. It feels like playoff time.
Playoff time. There's dubs in the air. Yeah, we have a good, solid dub pod today.
Yeah, we do.
The Seattle Sounders took on the Houston Dynamo at Lumen Field on Saturday and took all 3 points. We have a lot of playoff seeding implications to talk about. We got a Paul Rothrock game winner to break down.
Paul Rothrock, a banger.
Yeah,
Not
Paul
even just
Rothrock
a game
banger
winner.
to win the game that we're going to be breaking down in our game review. So looking forward to that. We're going to hit our agenda check. I have a new agenda to promote this week. We're going to take your questions. Thank you to everyone who submitted. And we're going to jump around MLS for winners and losers. And then also we had a few news items. I think both Sounders related, Club World Cup related, and maybe like a couple other MLS storylines. So yeah, a lot to get to today. Looking forward to it. But before we do all that, I did want to let you all know that Lobbing Scorchers is a part of the Sounder at Heart podcast network. If you want to get the best independent Seattle soccer coverage, consider supporting us by going to sounderatheart.com/LS. That's sounderatheart.com/LS. Scroll down to subscribe and support to get 30 days completely free. Every sign up through our link helps support and grow this show. We're gonna goal set on that. I think we're at 33 subs. Let's get to 34 by the time we're at the next episode,
which is totally possible.
Yeah,
we just need one.
One of you. I know there's one person out there that'll sign up at sounderatheart.com/LS. Noah, did you want to go ahead and read the list?
I am happy to read you the list here. Sorry, I'm just double checking here because, like I had said before, we have one listener whose name wasn't pronounced correctly, so I'm just making sure it is. If your name is not pronounced correctly, shoot us an email, lobbingscorchers@justoncmedia.com, and we will make sure you are locked in. All right, here we go. Are we ready for this? Kenneth Wade, Joey Pasquinelli, David McCoy, Owen Mason, Daniel Pavado, Samuel Fow, Ian Mitchell, Christopher Smith, Norm Bontier, Thomas Martin, Greg Hoker, Chris Maley, Andy Hill, Mike Lintini, Nate Bontier, David Rodriguez, CJ and Miles Marinakis,
my nephews,
Mark Ottinger, Zach Heckman, David Pope, Brian Morton, Claire Berger, Robert Singh, Tyler Nakatsu, Steve Hudson, Choska, Patrick Sexton, John Hatmaker, Ebach, Justin Walker, Jay Enders, Ryan Shade, and Nathan Jones.
Thank you all so much to everyone who subscribed. We love and appreciate all of you. Noah, before I plug the YouTube, I already have a quick correction to make. I think I did the thing again where I said the wrong episode number.
Oh, that's okay. We do it all the time.
Yeah, I said 67 at the top of the show. It looks like it's actually episode 66. The reason I noticed that is because I was looking at the Lobbing Scorchers YouTube, which is on the road to 600 subs. The road to 600 is alive and well. We're at like 561 to be exact. So let's get that to 600 before the actual episode 67. All right, let's jump into this game review, Noah. After that housekeeping, because we got a dub to break down.
Yeah, we do.
So let's start, as we always do, with our lineup reaction. I think the main thing that to note with this lineup was you had a De La Vega start, and then you had Christian back in the double pivot with Obed. JP is still out. Other than that, it's pretty much what they've been running for this whole kind of stretch run of the season here. Did you have any thoughts on the lineup other than that?
No, not really anything surprising to me. I was just like, yep, that's a lineup here. That's a lineup right now that we're playing. I mean, nothing really seemed to change.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see De La Vega like consistently getting minutes. We're gonna do our weekly De La Vega takes, but yeah, pretty standard lineup. I think. I mean, this is gonna be how they're running it for the last couple games and into the playoffs here. Although it will be interesting to see what happens when JP gets back, because Christian, I think, has been very good back in the double pivot, and it's kind of a reminder of how much he excelled at that position earlier in his career. His skill set is just very like you really can put it anywhere, and it plays because of his work rate and because of how good he is on defense. So you can put a player like that at right mid and be very effective, but then back in the double pivot or at right back, and he still cooks.
Yeah, I mean that's like kind of what we were saying before, or at least I was saying, was Christian is this player that defies like everything, and he's on a he's not even a DP. Like he has DP depth, not on a DP salary. Bang for your buck, folks.
Yeah, no, I think we were talking about this earlier this season, but like some of the best value in the league
easily.
This game itself was it was a pretty straightforward performance, I would say. We talked about it on the preview show, and we're going to talk about this in the agenda tech too. But this Houston team is pretty good. They're not bad. They didn't have Hector Herrera in this game, and you could feel that. It really, watching them closely in this game as opposed to watching them sort of peripherally for most of the season, like you can really tell how kind of central he is to everything they do. And he really, he's a fantastic player, and they really did not have much on offense in this game without him. Seattle only got one goal, but that's all they needed. Let's break this goal down because this was a really sick goal. Paul Rothrock, again, another game winner.
It's all he knows how to do.
It's old news at this point whenever he scores a game winner. But this goal, this was a sick goal.
Yeah, it was.
It started because Albert Rusnak was making a run into the box, and he kind of got brick walled by the center back. But once it got brick walled, it fell right to Rothrock, who just lined up a really nice low driven shot to the far post. It had a little bit of bend on it.
It looked like the keeper almost got a little tip to it, too.
It was a really quality finish. I think it was the best Rothrock goal so far. A lot of the Rothrock goals are like poacher goals where he's kind of just in the right spot. He has that little sliding finish that he does. But a couple of these recent Rothrock goals, I'm like, damn, like the header that he hit in Leagues Cup, right?
Yeah.
That was like a really class goal. And then this one I think was even better. And, seeing a goal like that, it kind of just, it reinforces like how much this is not a bit anymore.
Right.
It's not like he's just poaching. Like if De La Vega scored that goal, which he scored a goal like that was from even further out that got waved off.
Right.
But you would be like, damn, that's like a DP finish. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
So just the Paul Rothrock thing just continues to just be surprisingly real.
Yeah. No, it's really funny because this is episode 1 old news. And even more so, Paul Rothrock owns the Houston Dynamo.
Yeah.
I think Jeremiah tweeted out a stat about how 3 of his goals have come against the Houston Dynamo, and he only has like 9 career goals or less than 9 career goals. So this is his team that he would score an absolute banger
and
against.
They're all game winners.
They're all game winners, yeah.
I think like the one last year was a game winner. The one he scored in Houston this year was a really good goal too. That was probably the 3rd best Rothrock goal. If we're ranking Rothrock goals, I wasn't planning on doing this on this show, but if we're ranking Rothrock goals, I think this one was the best.
Yep.
And then the Leagues Cup header was nice.
It was nasty.
That was really that was very difficult, high degree of difficulty. But then that one in Houston, remember that one? He kind of it was like a self breakaway that he converted. So
just to note on this too, not that I believe in XG, but the XG on this goal that I saw on FootMob was 0.05.
Yeah,
0.0. Like this was a nasty finish on a tough position. I know it wasn't a poacher's goal, but it was a poacher's goal. It was being in the right place at the right time, having that incredible off the ball movement to understand, okay, Albert's going to make this run. I need to be in a space to collect if he dispossesses. And then just the instinct to instantly collect the ball and finish. I mean, is Paul Rothrock DP quality, Ari?
I mean, he's producing like it right now. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. The defense took it from there. Dynamo didn't really threaten much. The 1-0 stood. If you're nitpicking the performance at all, you would have liked to see at least one more goal.
Jordan that dime from Rothrock to Jordan where he just pushed it wide.
I think it was really a situation where they were racking up enough chances, playing good enough offense where they definitely could have and probably should have had the second goal, and it didn't quite come off. But I thought the defending in this game was excellent. Like the Dynamo, they weren't really doing all that much, but I thought Seattle's press was really good and really effective for pretty much the whole game, and just they were winning all their 1v1s. They were bringing a lot of energy on that side of the ball. I thought this was with it in mind that this Houston side was depleted without Ache and also wasn't generating a heck of a lot of chances. But like part of the reason they weren't generating any chances was because the defending was locked down in this game. Thought Nuhu had a good game.
Yeah,
so,
he did. I thought the whole back line did. I thought Jackson played incredible. I thought Yamar was out of his mind this match.
Both CBs,
he was playing so well. And we'll get to the Jackson Reagan contract later, but this was definitely I just signed a contract. Let me show you what I got moment for Reagan.
Both CBs have been in good form down the stretch, and I think especially Jackson Reagan. You know, I'll continue to take my L on my Jackson Reagan take from earlier this season, where I was a little unsure about the stock, and I said as much. But really, I feel like pretty much since I said that, I dished that bad take, he's just been lights out. So I'll take credit for that, even though
locker room
bulletin board, the bulletin board material, all right, I'll hit my rapid fire takeaways here, and then you can tell me what you think of these. I only got 3 written down here. Playoffs are clinched. Squad's going to the offs. 15 out of 16 years since they joined MLS.
Most of any expansion team ever.
Most of any expansion team ever, I guess. It's no longer the longest streak because the Red Bulls, I think, are at 16 years or something. But they've never won an MLS Cup, which I think is kind of funny. Yeah. They've won a few Shields, but their streak, I think, it hits a little less because they've never won a cup.
They've had more years to do it, you know?
It's true. I mean, 15 out of 16, though, in all seriousness, like, let's just talk about that for a second. That's, like, not easy to do, especially in a league like this where there's so much parity. And
it's changed so much in those 16 years.
Yeah.
I mean, Messi plays in this league now.
He does, famously.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's good. Also good to be back in the playoffs, I think, for a second year in a row after that streak came to an end a couple years ago in 2022. Last year had kind of the unfortunate ending, getting bammed on by Denny Bouanga, but the squad is back and playing for a top 4 spot in the West, and really second place is not out of the question these last couple games here. We're going to talk about that later, but squad's going back to the offs. I wanted to talk about, there's a few narratives out there kind of undermining the win, as you might expect. My thought on it is that, I mean, at this point in the year, a win is a win. Mm-hmm. This was a professional performance. Sometimes you have to grind out the 1-0. There's nothing wrong with a 1-0. A 1-0 is a necessary thing sometimes in soccer. The thing about a 1-0 is that, you're always kind of, any 1-goal lead, you're playing with fire. You could lose that at any time.
Yeah.
And we saw that in the Earthquakes game. So I have no problem with them grinding out a 1-0 at this point in the season, especially because I feel like the performance on offense was pretty good. You just have to actually grind out the 1-0. You can't do the thing that they did against the Quakes and give up the equalizer at the death. But if you don't do that and you grind out the 1-0, that's fine, and I think you get full credit for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think also the fact that the Sounders were making so many chances, they had really good chances on net as well. So I don't think that there was any, I don't know. I totally understand where people were coming from, but also the Houston defense was playing pretty well, especially Steve Clark. He made some really nice saves. He's famously a pretty solid goalkeeper. And this isn't your Houston Dynamo team of 2 seasons ago. This is a reloaded, team with new ownership that has honestly been pretty good this season. I know they're not incredible, but
they're feel pretty much as good as Seattle.
Yeah, this was a solid win, and I think also while the first 15 minutes I was very scared. Once Seattle got in control of the game state, it felt like they were dominating. So I guess I don't really understand where people are coming from with thinking this was a bad performance.
Well, all 1-0s are not necessarily created equal.
Right.
This was a comfortable 1-0 if there is such a thing.
Yeah.
This game never really felt that much in doubt for me. You just never know when you only have the 1-goal lead. One moment can flip it. But I don't know. I was never really tripping that much. And then lastly, we already talked about it, but just to reiterate, Paul Rothrock owns the Houston Dynamo. He owns them. We should go to the Wikipedia and change do that little thing. And this was his best goal yet. All right, should we just jump right into agenda check and then hit questions? All right, so I got 4 agendas written down. Noah, you wrote, I wrote down 3 and you tossed one in. All right, also I'll hit mine, and I have we're gonna check in on a couple. I kind of want to do a new thing with the agenda check, which is we're gonna still track agendas in the same way. Like if there's a beat that we're on, we'll still do that. But what I'm gonna try to do, and you can get in on this, is I'm gonna try and bring a new one every week.
I like that.
And that way it'll keep it fresh. Like I feel like there's been some agenda checks where we're kind of hitting the same ones over and over. So to keep it fresh, I'm going to bring a new one every week. I have a new one, and it looks like you wrote down a new one.
I did,
so we're going to start that new protocol. We're going to start that new protocol this week. But we do have a couple regular ones that we've been hitting to check in on before I dish my new one. We're going to start with the BWP Sounders Only Beat Bad Teams agenda. Diminished. I don't really want to hear it. This Dynamo team is pretty good. I've watched them a fair amount this year. They didn't have Ache, who's one of the better two-way midfielders in the league, one of the better assist guys in the league. But man, like you can go up and down their roster. This is not a bad team.
Not at all. And they have Coco Carrasquilla, who's been one of my favorite players to watch.
Their roster is not bad, and we talked about it on the preview show, but they play really good team ball. Like when I watch this Dynamo team, that's what always kind of impresses me is they have really good chemistry. They play well together, and like some of the team goals that they've scored in the last couple of years since Benno got there, like they can slice and dice you about as much as anyone in this league. So that agenda is diminished, and I'm not really here for any of the they didn't have Hector Herrera, so this win doesn't count, or it was only 1-0, so this doesn't count. Like, this agenda is diminished.
No, I agree. I mean, listen, is this like a top 3 team in the Western Conference or a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference? No, but like people keep making excuses on this one. They're like, they beat Columbus, but they had a bot in goal. They beat Houston, but also they didn't have their best player. It's like, all right, like I get it, but also these aren't bad teams. If you want to push the narrative that the Sounders can't beat LAFC, that's a narrative I can agree with. But they also beat the shit out of the Galaxy like not that long ago. And the Galaxy are looking like, easily the best team in the West. So it's really like, I agree with you. This take has been completely diminished. And the way that I've seen this team play, it seems like, law of odds, maybe they can get one over on LAFC.
I'm actually glad that you brought that up about the Galaxy because
this is a Galaxy podcast, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, a few weeks ago, we talked about the Ari is a dumbass for rating the Galaxy over LAFC agenda.
Yeah.
I know LAFC just won the Open Cup. We're going to talk about that, but like they've been struggling a little bit the last couple weeks. The Galaxy are going to take the number 1 seed in the West. So I think I might have actually cooked on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to retract that agenda.
I mean, they're locked and loaded with quality players just as much as LAFC. And we all know, like, even if LAFC gets to a final, like, they have to play literally the worst club in the history of clubs
to barely win.
To barely win.
All right. Let's do our De La Vega takes. Man, there was a couple good moments, I will say, but so in the last game he had a couple where he was on the break and shot when he should have passed, and then this game he had another breakaway where he had like 2 options of somewhere to lay it off and like didn't do it. So anyway, like, I don't know. We were texting about it. You were calling him a bot. I'm not going to say that off this sample size yet, but I think the thing that concerns me when I look at his decision making is that, like, a DP like Ladero, for instance, you know, who I understand when Ladero got here, he was not a developmental player. He was more established. He wasn't like he wasn't like learning as much as De La Vega might be at his point in his career. But I feel like stuff like that, like vision, decision making, where to pass, when to pass, it's like if you're elite at that, it's kind of innate.
Yeah, 100%.
You either have that or you don't. So to see these sequences where his decision making is that far off, I'm not saying he can't get there, but it's a little troubling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, when you're getting played off the pitch by a guy who went to college at Georgetown and played soccer in the name of Paul Rothrock. Like, listen, he's the best player to ever play soccer, but like, you are a DP getting played off the field by a TAM player.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, it's like, I do think you have to take into account like the health situation, but like,
it's been months.
Well, yeah.
And he can't even play a full 90.
Yeah. But like, I think that's a separate issue than like decision making that I'm talking about has really nothing to do with physical health. That's just like how you see and read the game.
Yeah.
So that's sort of like, I'm not trying to write him off yet. I definitely I think that it still remains true that this team's ceiling for this year is very much connected to whether you can get sustained and meaningful contributions from this guy. So like, I'm not like pulling the plug on him. I really don't think that would be fair off this level of sample size still. I understand what you're saying. Like it's been more of a sample at this point. But like, I think I said 1,000 to 1,200 minutes is what I try to have a player like this get to before I start kind of formulating how I rate them.
Yeah.
And he's nowhere close to anywhere like that. So I'm still going to give it time, but I think these last couple games, man, like I said, like his decision-making and execution in transition has been questionable.
It's been really bad. And like we were talking about this specifically, he's doing the Raul like blast it from outside the box, just rip a shot. He's doing this like, I just don't understand his positioning sometimes. He feels like he's all over the pitch, but not like a Messi way where Messi's just like kind of around. It's just like a chicken with your head cut off running around thing. And I don't really understand it. He's trying to dribble people, but he's just not beating them. Like, or he's getting double teamed and then not laying the ball off. Or when he's passing the ball, he's passing it. His passing's like not super accurate. I'm not of the camp that he's like a complete bust, but I mean, I've been on record saying that he's not the savior, and also that like definitely not the savior this season and won't be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I want to give him credit for he did have a couple of good moments.
But so did Georgie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
like
a little similar to Georgie.
Like, I think that's kind of where I'm at, is like, I totally respect that he had a rough go of it getting here. And I do think that his ceiling is really high, especially like he might just need an off season, a preseason, and a reset to get back into it and like to really be healthy, but to like feel confident enough and get back in that playing style.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with it for the rest of the season. They need him to get hot into the playoffs. I think that's really going to be determinative on if they can make a sustained run. So
let's hope he heats up.
Let's hope he heats up. Exactly.
I'm pro him heating.
All right. All right. This is my new agenda for the week. I think this is going to be a not very popular agenda, but I was kind of just holistically looking at this season with where it is with the playoffs getting clinched and only a couple games left. And my agenda right now is that it's this season actually low key has really not been that bad agenda. And let me just justify why I think that. And because I know a lot of people don't feel that way right now because of how that Earthquakes game went and just in general, how the offense has looked at times this season. And some of the individual results that they've taken have been really bad. But like, if you just look at the whole body of work, they hit 50 points, which when I go into a season, that's the bare minimum baseline that you need to get to kind of ensure that you're in the playoffs. That's like step one, right? And then ideally you want to be up in the 60s and competing for the Shield. But with the knowledge that that's probably not going to happen every year, that 50-point benchmark is that's the first one that you want to hit. Plus 12 GD, which is not amazing, but it's solid. And it's really not different from a lot of these other teams in the West that we talk about that are like as so much better than them. And like, I think something that I was looking at was just comparing the season that they've had to LAFC. Right. And now I know that LAFC has, they've had a lot of fixture congestion that has maybe skewed their numbers down a little bit. But I mean, we talk about LAFC like they're this team that's like light years ahead of Seattle because they beat the shit out of Seattle in their individual matchups, and they have the heavy upper hand in the direct head-to-heads right now. But we talk about them like they're light years ahead. They have 52 points. Seattle has 50. They have 15 wins. Seattle has 14. Their GD is 13 plus 13. Seattle's is plus 12. They're 9-2-4 at home. Seattle's 8-2-6, so they're a little bit better at home, but not significantly. Same amount of road wins, 6 apiece. So, if I'm just saying, man, like if you look at where they are on the table and the overall view of how they performed this year, it's been pretty similar. Yeah. You know? And you could say the same thing about RSL, who we've talked about as an elite team. They're at 1.68 points per game. Seattle's at 1.61. So I'm definitely not saying it's been like this great season that means that this team is set up to be like a juggernaut for the future, guaranteed or anything like that. But like, if you listen to how people talk about this team this year, us included sometimes, I will admit. Yeah. We talk about them like they're like wooden spoon contenders, and that's really not the case, is my only point.
I think for me, the biggest thing with this, I think you are very logical with this. I don't think you're like insane for this take, but I think the difference is the people that we see talking about this season and the people that, you know, we consume on a daily basis are like the 10% of fans who follow every game and feel very like personally connected to every single win and loss. If you look at the season as a like general view, anyone's going to be happy with that. You make the playoffs, you make a semifinal, you know, like you're playing well, you make a signing, but you know, are there things that should have gone differently or been better? Absolutely. But I think it's only a frustrating season because we're so close. We're so close to being back at that like really not elite, but maybe like really good level or like, you know, great level. Just talent wise and, you know, winning trophies and stuff. But yeah, I don't think you're insane for saying that this season has been bad. It hasn't been bad. It's been fine. It's been good. It hasn't been like trophy winning. But also, it's the playoffs. They're coming up. You never know what's going to happen. If I'm ever going to like predict the playoffs, I just wouldn't even try because 2016 happened.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is to do with just the weight of expectations, right? Like,
yes.
This season hasn't been as good relative to what people have come to expect in the past, which is this team contending for and winning MLS Cups, being a Champions League contender, winning Champions League. Like, this team has not felt like it's on that level this season. So I think that's where a lot of the consternation comes from, you know, not just the fans out there, but like for us too, you know, like it hasn't been what we're used to for lengthy stretches, but it's all relative to like what you were thinking for a team like before the season. Like I was comparing it to Houston, and Houston's had a very similar season to Seattle. Their points per game is a tick lower, but they're 13-9-9 with a +9 GD, and they're getting talked about like they're having a really good year, rightfully so. But that's because they've been middling to bad for the previous like 5-6 years. So 1.55 feels like, oh damn, this team's on the come up. They're emerging, whereas Seattle has a higher points per game, but because they're not like juggernaut contending like they were in this like previous era leading up to this, it's being talked about like this bad season. Right. So like it's just the expectations kind of have a lot to do with how that gets perceived.
Yeah, and I think also another like overarching theme for this season has been frustration with things that are not necessarily related to play or related to the specific season we're in. You know, a lot of people got really frustrated with not making any signings, right? And that's not a this season problem as much as it's like a looking forward to the Club World Cup. How are we going to compete in that? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? It's like been front office frustration a lot more, in my opinion, than play frustration. Because if you look at it, it's like, okay, Albert Rusnak is having the season of his career. Jordan Morris is having the season of his career. And you have Paul Rothrock breaking out. You have a new signing in Georgie who looks interesting. You have like all of this stuff. They're up in a top 4 spot. They could finish top 2, you know? Like that is objectively a pretty solid season, but then you're like, okay, shit. Well, like what's going to go on next year? You know, we didn't make a signing in the summer. What are we have to completely, you know, retool for the Club World Cup to be competitive. That's frustrating. My season tickets got bumped up. That's frustrating. You know, people are upset with, I think, like management and front office more than they're upset with the actual results and the way the season is going.
Can I get deep for a second?
Get deep.
Part of the reason I was thinking about this take was because when COVID popped off and the season like got canceled for 5 months and we had no games, I was like, man, like when the games come back, I'm never going to take that shit for granted ever again. Like I just like, and cause they came back at first, but there's like no fans and it just like wasn't the same. So, there's like been an element the last couple of years where I'm just like, man, it's just nice to like I have a more of an appreciation for just like having the team there, having fans at the games, having like the week to week ritual of like following the news and then the game and all that stuff. So like a season like this that's middling compared to previous standards, but it has been like decently good. Like they've been competitive in most of the games. They're a solid playoff team, 50-point season, competing for a top 4 spot. I'm like, all right, you know, like obviously like it would be better if they were juggernauting like LAFC or Columbus or Miami, but I'm not like tripping that much, I guess. Does that make sense?
100%. I mean, like missing for me, I was more disappointed. I mean, 2022, we won, you know, CCL, but missing the playoffs for me was more inexcusable than anything that happened this season.
Yeah, although that was such a weird situation because they had just won CCL.
But that summer was the worst football I think I've ever watched in my life. that was awful.
All right, you had one more agenda here. What did you have?
One more agenda here.
Cook it.
Josh Atencio. Let the boy cook. He needs some more minutes agenda.
Okay, I like this.
I saw him play for what? He played like 15 minutes or something. He was all over the field. I thought he played really well. And I want to see this boy cook some more, especially with, you know, JP out and Christian in that double pivot and like, you know, seeing maybe what you could do if Obed gets another call up, you know, and he's not available. I don't know, man. I'm just saying I like what I'm seeing from this kid, and we haven't really seen him much this year.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've toyed with this agenda a little bit, but he got overshadowed by the Obed breakout.
Yeah.
So he hasn't broken out to that extent because he really hasn't gotten the minutes to be able to do so. But yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Like it's been like an under the radar storyline that he's been a regular, consistent, high level contributor. And I think that gives you some nice cover in the event that you sell Obed, which I think is going to happen. And then he probably does get elevated into a more prominent role. And I think you're right. Like he could do some stuff with that. He's had a very good year. It's just not been as electric as the Obed breakout.
Yeah. I don't want to compare him to Obed either, like anyway, because I think
they're pretty different.
They're very different players. I think I hated that everyone was comparing them. Like when that was happening, I understand that they're like similar.
We were doing that.
But it was like, you know, similar age, similar like positioning, like all of that, but very different and dynamically in like the dynamic ways that they play, just completely different players. And I don't know, man, just like Josh Atencio, looked very solid in this game, and I loved his attacking movement, but more than that, I loved his like defending in the attacking position, like putting that pressure on players and forcing passes and like making people uncomfortable. And his vision is really good, and I mean, I wouldn't even mind putting him starting ahead of Pedro de la Vega right now. That's my fire take.
Ooh, that's spicy.
I want to see him. I want to see what he could do in that position. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think he could be a solid 10 potentially.
Okay. Wow. That got hotter than I thought. If you've got any thoughts on any of our agendas, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Drop your own agendas, and if we see them and like them, we'll talk about them.
We read them either way.
We do. So. Yeah, I spend too much time in our YouTube comments. All right, we're on a little bit of a time crunch here, so let's jump into questions real quick. I got a few written down here. Looks like you have a question of the week, and then we'll do our around the league stuff and get out of here. Does that sound good?
Let's do it. All right. This first one is from Anders. Is Paul evolving into Paul?
Yeah, I included this one because I haven't thought of that, and like calling him Paul is a pretty good bit, I think.
Paul Rothrock.
I dig it. Yeah, thanks for that, Anders. That was a good one.
That's fire. I love that. Quadzilla asks, what positives did PDLV show? The outcomes weren't there. We want to see goals plus assists from him, but did he seem to give Houston more to think about?
I know we were a little bit down on him in the previous segment, but like, I mean, you still do see the good individual moments. Like the one I'm thinking of in particular was the one where he made a run down the right side. The service came in and he sent in like a nice cross that got blocked. So like you do see those moments like that. But I think the issue right now is that like you're getting those kind of flash moments throughout a game, but the final product's not quite there. And then, like I said, I think what I saw in the last game, this is just what I saw. What I saw in the last game that I think needs to get better is just the decision making, specifically in transition, which I feel like it's happened like 3, maybe even 4 times in the last 2 games where he's been running a break in transition, which is something that you love to see him do, you need to see him do, and there's been options for what to do, and he's picked the wrong option. A couple times he shot a really low percentage shot from really far away, and then the one I'm thinking of in the last game that I was talking about earlier was he was running a break, and they're really tell me if I'm remembering this wrong, but I thought 2 options for where to lay it off, and he didn't do either one.
Yep.
And so that's one that, again, like when you see stuff like that, it's like the players who have that vision and that decision making attribute, like they see those and hit those. So I'm not saying he doesn't have it. I'm just saying that like when I've seen that like multiple times in the last 2 games, man, like
it's concerning.
It's concerning.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna say it. Ari. I'm gonna say something a little hot takey here.
You're on.
He's giving Leo Chu energy these last 2 games, and I don't like it. And I want him to get out of that headspace. That's all.
It's a little different because Leo Chu, it's when he's attacking from out wide.
Yeah,
and these I'm talking about are when he's like centrally
when he's
running
central.
the break. But
yeah.
Like it's the same. It's like if Leo Chu was a 10.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like what? Like why are we doing this, sir? Please cut it out. Jim asks, any concern that Rothrock might be a 1-season wonder like Harry Shipp in Chicago?
It's a valid question, but I'm not really concerned about that. But I will say I don't consider Harry Shipp a 1-season wonder, really. I think he had a pretty nice career. I know what you're talking about, which is like when he was in Chicago, he was legitimately considered nasty. Like one of the better up and coming young players in the league, and he was a homegrown at the time. He was like Georgi Mihailovic before Georgi Mihailovic. Probably he never turned out to be that good, but like Harry Shipp was a really solid MLS player, and I always knew that when he was on Chicago. But then when he got to Seattle, Casey Dunau, if you're listening to this, you should hit me up about it because we always used to talk about this. But Harry Shipp was nasty. He had really good vision and he hit some of the best dimes of any Seattle player on the team during that time period. So if Paul Rothrock turns out like Harry Shipp, that would be a W, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Harry Shipp was pretty good.
I think Paul Rothrock has only gotten better the more minutes that he's played, so I really don't have any concern that he is going to like be a one season wonder. Also, he's been consistent across the board when he has played, even last season. Like that was our whole point of making.
The sample's big enough now where I'm really like not that worried about it being a flash in the pan. That flash in the pan type stuff is what you talk about, like when he went on the Open Cup bender last year.
Yeah,
and you're like, okay, is this real? And we went through that, and like it's kept going. So I'm increasingly less concerned about that as time goes by.
All right, because we're in a time crunch, I'm going to hit my question of the week. Thank you all for submitting yours, but mine is so much more important because I have a microphone. Here we go. This one is kind of a general question, and we hit on a couple of this, so we don't have to go long on it, but is a top 3 finish in the West realistic for the Sounders? How much would that change the narrative of this season? And how would you change how would it change your perception on the possibility of making a run to the Cup?
Well, it's definitely realistic. I mean, let's just look at the table. LA is going to take the LA Galaxy are going to take the number 1 seed. They're on 58 points. So that's pretty locked up. But 2 through 4, you have LAFC at 52 and RSL at 52. And then Colorado and Seattle are tied on 50 at 4 and 5. LAFC is the only team in there with a game in hand. So like catching RSL, who have not been playing well lately, by the way, they are in a big downturn in form. Like Seattle could definitely catch RSL and Colorado, and they could catch LAFC. Like they could very feasibly get second. So it's very realistic, and that's something that they should absolutely be going for. How much would it change the narrative? I don't think a lot, because I think people would they would just say like last year they got second in the West, but they people undermined it by saying like
bought West,
exactly. So I don't think it would change the narrative from that perspective. But as far as it changing the perception on possibility of making a run to the Cup, anything can happen in the playoffs. So like that's why you just gotta get in and then see what happens.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that I don't know. I feel like my perception has changed, but I do think that anything's possible in the Cup, and I think we've both always said that.
All right, let's go around the league. We've got some news items, and then we'll hit winners and losers real quick, and then we'll get out of here. I got my my little content call coming up here, so we got to get out of here. But we are going to get through these last 2 sections before calling it a wrap on episode 67. All right, Noah, did you want to go through these news items?
Absolutely. Let's hit our news items today. Brought to you by Sounder at Heart, because most of these are reported by Sounder at Heart. SounderHeart.com/LS. Get 30 days for free. There's some really good columns that just came out, and potentially a Paul Rothrock related column coming out. You should subscribe. All right, here we go. News items. Seattle and Lumen Field will be the host venue for the Club World Cup. The Sounders will play, I believe it was 3 games, 2 or 3 games. I don't know exactly how many, but they will play all of their games at home. This is according to Brian Schmetzer and Stefan Fry. So thoughts on
one
that?
of several host venues. Right?
Yes, they will be one of several host venues, but they will be a host venue.
And it's like a new format where like so when the Sounders played in the Club World Cup last time, it was just like single elimination off rip, right?
Yeah.
Now there's going to be group stage games, so we're going to get to see them play a couple times, which will be. I mean, I'm looking forward to that. They're really riding that 2022 CCL achievement for everything it's worth. But if they're putting them in, let's play these games and see where the chips fall.
Yeah, first MLS club to ever play in a Club World Cup, and first club to ever play in 2 Club World Cups. So
and they've been like trying all these mechanisms to get someone else into it, but like the Crew would have gotten in if they had, but like no one else can get in. So looks like it's just going to be Seattle again,
which is fire. And even if they do gift it to Miami, I'm actually kind of cool with that. That's fine with me.
Absolutely, yeah, that's fine.
Per Jeremiah Oshan, Obed Vargas may be getting a call into the Mexican senior national team in this upcoming window. Obviously, he had gone and trained and played with the U23s or U20 somethings, but he was also seen training with the senior team while he was there. So this could be a big deal. And, we've been tracking this, and very pro Obed being the renaissance man for this really bad Eltree team.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, this Eltree team is down bad. So if they're smart, they're going to really elevate Obed, make him a centerpiece, make him the face of the team. That's what I want them to do.
All right, this next one. It's official. The Sounders have formally announced Jackson Reagan has re-signed a 3-year deal with a club option for 2028. No details on salary, but our very own Jeremiah Ochan of Center at Heart estimates it's around $600,000 to $700,000, potentially more. So
yeah, we talked about this on the last show because Jeremiah had reported this previously, which I guess that's the one thing we should correct. I forgot to credit Jeremiah for that. I thought it had gotten announced, but I was actually a Sounder at Heart report that I was referencing. So shout out to Jeremiah for the report on that, and subscribe to Sounder at Heart for more great reporting like that.
And then my favorite news item of the week, it's official. We can crown a new wooden spoon champion in MLS. San Jose have officially clinched the wooden spoon. Is this the worst season you've ever seen of all time for any club?
It's really bad, and what's tight about it is that Seattle played him twice and didn't beat him either time and lost once. They've won 5 times this year, which is hard to do in MLS. One of those wins came against Seattle. Remember how stupid that game was?
That was so dumb.
I think what, not to go on too much of a tangent, but what is, what's grating about the results against the Quakes this year is, I mean, they're the wooden spoon winners and you couldn't beat them either time, but it's like both games Seattle was absolutely like destroying them and just choked, shot themselves in the foot.
23% of the Quakes points have come from the Sounders.
Yeah, but so if Seattle goes on an MLS Cup run this year, the fact them doing it in a year where they couldn't beat the Quakes will be just a good bit.
Yes.
For now, it's like kind of indicative of how the team's like not like, I mean, remember when they played the Quakes a couple years ago and they beat them like 7-1? That's like what the dynamic used to be like. But anyway, to answer your question, one of the worst seasons that we've seen from an MLS club in the last couple years. 72 goals conceded, minus 35 G.
That's just incredible. They
tough.
Still have the possibility to get to minus 100, or not minus 100, but 100 conceded, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
it would be really hard, but if anyone
in the
can
last,
do it,
3 games, they can definitely do that.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit winners and losers real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Because there was a lot of games this weekend, and there was some interesting stuff to chew on. First, for the winners section, all right, I'm going to put LAFC in here, but with a caveat.
Okay.
All right, so they won the Open Cup. Credit to them for that.
No champagne.
They made it to a final. They didn't choke. No champagne for us. First time they've won the Open Cup. So good job for that. And then they beat FC Cincy on the road. And they just generally, they do look back on track. Their vibes are salvaged a little bit. But I will say, this is the caveat. They look tired. They look tired. I'm just saying, like, they looked more vulnerable the last few weeks. Than they have previously this season. I think their fans would tell you that. And they've had a ton of games. They've had a lot of big emotional games. And like, yes, they won the Open Cup. They got taken to extra time by Sporting KC, the Club of Professional Wrestling Enthusiasts. It wasn't like this super dominant LAFC type game that we're used to seeing from them. And they did the Cincy win is a good win, but again, like, it wasn't. I didn't think they looked quite at the level in the game that we're used to seeing from them. And just in general, I don't think they're on cruise control to the cup like some people might think, man. Like, I think, and it's not because of anything to do with the quality of their team, which I think is probably realistically still the most loaded team in the West. It's just more to do with the fact that when you play as many games as they have, it's tough to like keep the same level of juice and energy throughout the whole season. Like, we've seen it time and again with a lot of MLS teams, and I think they are going through that a little bit. So, I'm not saying that they're not coming out of the West or anything, but they look tired.
I agree.
Minnesota United are looking back lately. So they beat the Rapids 3-0, and the thing about them is this guy, Calvin Uboa, he's cooking. Looks like the Loons got a really good number 9, which that could elevate their team quite a lot. But he's got like 5 goals already. So
he scored a brace against the Sounders, right? In his debut.
Yeah. That was his MLS debut. Oh, someone got on me for pronouncing the T in debut. Did you see that?
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, whoever commented that, I guess I didn't know how that word's pronounced.
He's a writer, not a podcaster. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Come on.
I thought you do pronounce the T, so my bad.
You should keep doing it now, just to piss him off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Orlando City, they boat raced FC Dallas 3-1 on the road. That's a good win for them. And then. No, it looks like you have DC United in here.
I had to say, Brace Benteke, first player of the season to score 20. He scored his 20th and 21st. He's just he's incredible. He's on fire. If you put him on any other team, he would be in the MVP conversation.
He probably should be anyway.
DC United is dog shit.
Yeah.
So, the fact that he has scored 21 goals this season and they're still, terrible... He's pretty damn good.
He's a beast. Imagine how bad they would be without him.
Oh, dude. Oh, my God.
All right. Losers, we're going to hit this real quick. New York Red Bulls lost the Hudson River Derby 5-1 against NYCFC. Emil Forsberg's been out for a while.
He's trying to find his kids.
Yeah, and really, the Red Bulls are just, they haven't been good for a while. And anytime you get boat raced in a rivalry game like that, a derby match like that can always go either way, but 5-1, that's tough. Sporting KC, the club of professional wrestling enthusiasts, they got bammed on by St. Louis City, who they beat in the playoffs last year, 3-1, and they're officially eliminated, I believe.
Yeah.
So no playoffs for the wrestlers. Unfortunate for them, but they probably have some WWE events lined up where
they'll stay busy.
They can keep themselves busy through that. Those are always fun events. I've never been to one, but I'm sure it'll be entertaining.
Yeah, they got their bronze medals for second place or whatever in Open Cup. So good season for them.
Yeah, it's funny. I was saying that I was rooting for them to beat LAFC because of the bit of if LAFC lost to them. But watching them lose another final, they're watching Sporting KC lose a final. I was like, all right.
In excruciating fashion.
This is kind of nice. This is kind of nice.
It was honestly,
get bammed on.
It played out perfectly because LAFC looked kind of shit. They got absolutely rocked by that goal. And then it was okay, but then Sporting lost. It was a really perfect, it was, yeah. It was a perfect match for me.
I enjoyed it. And then lastly, I got Inter Miami on here just because, they're going to win the Shield and Messi's back. And
he scored a banger.
I think if they, folks, I'm telling you, if they're anywhere approaching full health, they're going to win MLS Cup. You can bookmark this, clip it up, write it down. I'm just telling you what's going to happen, and that's what's going to happen. They could, injuries and stuff that could always derail it. But like I said, assuming full health, they're easily, I think, going to win MLS Cup. But if there's anything that might undermine that prediction, they're not in that great of form right now, and they've been taking a lot of draws that they shouldn't be taking, and I think a lot of it is down to kind of bad luck, honestly. They've been playing well enough to win these games, just haven't been doing it. And Messi's still scoring goals and stuff. But I'm putting them in this section because, a 1-1 draw to Charlotte. And then they drew, I think, their game before that. I think they're on 3 draws in a row.
They drew at New York City and drew against Columbus or Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta, they're not good. No. So, as much as they're going to win the Shield, and as much as I think they're probably going to win MLS Cup, they are looking slightly more vulnerable right now than they have in previous times this season, and they have Messi and Suarez and everybody right now. So
I think their Achilles heel will be New York City FC. If New York City FC, which don't make the playoffs most likely, somehow, some way, Inter Miami that's they cannot beat New York City, and I honestly think if they get them in the playoffs, they might slice and dice them.
Okay, all right.
That's my hot take.
We'll see what happens. All right, we're going to call it right there for episode 66. Thank you all, as always, for tuning in. Love and appreciate all of our subscribers and our listeners and our new audience on YouTube. Like, comment, rate, subscribe, write us a review, sub to the YouTube.
Share with Emil Forsberg's wife and kids.
Emil Forsberg. Until next time, we out.
Peace.